Thank you so much. Oh, no, I don't want to cool.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the real State of the Union here on the Absolute Awesome Show. How's everybody doing?
Hey, sick as a dog.
I know, we heard, we saw like during the little intro like overlay there, you going, "Oh, thank you for my water." Oh,
You could hear that?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. The microphone magically mutes whenever you say something you shouldn't be saying. It just automatically mutes.
It's because my head is so big I don't realize my voice is booming.
It is gigantic.
Yes.
All right. So here we are, Thursday, whatever the day is, the 18th of February. We've got no special guests per se, but we're just going to have like an open chat. Invite a bunch of people in, talk about whatever you want. But I guess we can kind of start off by, I don't know, going over some current state of, you know, the rock world, the music world, what's happening.
What's left of it?
What we like, what we don't like, probably mostly what we don't like. Because we're jaded and old.
I'll start in on a positive note. My wife went to go see the Waves the other day, and some band called Best Coast, and then some local band. I don't know. Anyway, but it was at a club in Philadelphia, and
DC.
she filmed. What was it?
It was in DC.
Oh, I said Philadelphia. I meant DC. See, I'm sick. I'm out of it. Anyway, so they played this place in DC, which I think maybe we've played at, but maybe it's just really different now, or maybe we've never played there. But anyway, she filmed a little bit of it, and I saw it, and it was like the old days, like, you know, crowd going crazy. It was like, you know, and it made me realize, oh yeah, you know, you get to a certain age, and music just passes you by. You just don't lose interest, but there's all these other people that still have interest. And it's funny because I look at it and I was like, why is everybody going crazy for this? They're just like, there's nothing about the band themselves that seemed like they were like it was anything to be like, oh, and be excited about. There wasn't any kind of a charisma or quality or special spark or fantastic anything about them. And
So
yet everybody was going crazy like it was the best thing in the world.
So what you're saying is we'll never have the Waves on the show because you've just basically said that there's nothing special about them.
No, no. I've heard some of their songs. She's got all their stuff on her iPod, and it's good and everything, but it's just like when I'm just looking at it generically from that perspective, there's not like, it wasn't like this incredible show that you think there would be if every, but then it reminds me.
But the fans were in it, right?
Yes, but it's because, you know, it's totally different when you're there and you super know the songs and you're seeing them all in real life for the first time than if you're not a fan and you're just watching it on a film. It's totally different. But of course, I'm old now and all that stuff, and it's just everything's different now. But it's just a reminder how much it's just so true that pop culture is for the young. Yeah. Period. It's just for the young, and you can play, and it can be cool, and you can do your different things here and there, and still get to feel it every once in a while. But for the most part, and that's with every generation. You know, movie stars from a bazillion years ago, and then you get older, and man, all the movie stars are younger than you now, and it's like, what? They don't seem like stars, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But live shows aren't. Yeah, live shows are all a variety of different things. Like we were saying in the pre-show, the last guest we had on, Kim Shattuck, recently did some live stuff with the Beach Boys, Josh, or some members of. What's going on with that?
The Beach Boys. So, Mike, the Beach Boys were a band that happened back in the early 60s. You know, they were kind of like rivals to the Beatles. I don't know if you heard of them. Yeah.
Okay, those guys. Okay. So let's flash forward to like a week ago or something.
So right now, okay. So
alternative.
Kim Shattuck, you remember that? Remember how much drool was all over our computer screens after that episode?
Yes.
We had a great time. She was awesome. Thank you again, Kim, because we love you so much, all of us. But
she's
anyway,
not watching this.
She's not. She might be. I don't know. But yeah, I follow her. It's funny because I was showing the video of what I sent to you guys earlier about basically Kim joined some of the Beach Boys on stage, like Al Jardine and a lot of the guys that play with Brian Wilson's band, and I don't know. It's like you got the Beach Boys, who are like Mike loves the Beach Boys. Then you got the Brian Wilson band, and then there's all these guys that have been playing with them over the years, and it's a big mess, and everybody hates each other, but they still play the same songs, and they still sound pretty good because they get a chorus of like 15 people who are all like music school grads who know what they're doing with music, and it sounds good. Anyway, I showed the clip of them playing Good Vibrations with Kim Shattuck on stage singing along. I showed it to, like, you know, Kelly and our friend Joya, who's over right now, and I was like, how cool was this? I mean, basically, she went from the Absolute Awesome Show to the Beach Boys like a few days
We're a
later.
stepping stone.
We were a stepping stone. They were like, how did you find this? I'm like, well, I follow her. And they're like, oh, she was like, you follow her. Yeah, you really follow her. Like, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Like, you really follow her. I'm like, no. Yes, I do really follow her.
You like older women? Yeah, you're like that about Joan Jett, too.
I do, but no. Here's the thing. I handle our, surprise, I handle the Absolute Awesome Show Instagram page. And which nobody is surprised by, because nobody knows, because like we have like 100 followers, and we follow more than are following us, and I don't really know how to like change that. So, but Kim is one of the people that we follow on there, and I did go on there and change, make a post the other day about promoting this show, which is really awesome so far, and so that's where I saw Kim's post and saw something about the Beach Boys and looked it up, found YouTube, boom, okay. But I get called out on it because it's like, oh, you really follow her because you follow her. I'm like, no, I mean, yeah, I would really follow her, but I really don't follow anybody. I don't know what is going on with you guys except for what's in our Facebook Messenger messages. Like, I don't look at Facebook enough to know what's going on with everybody, so my bad. But anyway, Beach Boys, awesome, one of the greatest bands of all time, and I think that it's really cool that she was able to do that and play with them, and she did a few songs, and totally not a Beach Boy voice that she has, but
I just saw the Good Vibrations thing. I didn't see any like where she was like singing lead or anything, but it was neat. She looked like she was like in her late 20s. She looked really great.
She looks great. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube. Just gotta look it up. But yeah, I
probably won't.
Whatever. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in other like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, community news. I guess it's been a while now, but Teenage Bottle Rocket found a new drummer.
Yeah. So
they are continuing forward. They're moving forward with this new fella. So that's exciting. That's cool.
Is he? Okay, I heard. Again, not paying attention as much. Is he coming on the show tonight? I heard he might come on the show tonight.
I don't know how to contact him.
Okay. That was a Chris.
If he's one of the millions of people watching, he can click the link and jump on in.
Chris also said something about it, and Chris, likes to say things.
Chris likes to say things and then not be here himself.
Yeah, right.
If not, if he doesn't come in, we can extend the invitation formally right now, live, to say, hey, let's hook that up sometime. Get him in, talk to him, see what he's thinking about this whole thing about jumping into the band, and
that's got to be so. That's got to just be. We would have a lot of questions for him for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that at this point he'd have a. I mean, I don't want to like sound weird or anything, but at this point, is it fair to like ask him a ton of questions if he doesn't really have a whole lot of answers to give?
No, but the questions would be around how he feels.
Oh, sure.
In that position. I mean, because the first thing that hits you is just like, oh my gosh, that's just got to be super, super crazy.
Yeah, and the pressure is on for sure.
Yes, it is. My goodness, he's gonna be.
I think
people are going to expect him to play just like him, and people are going to be judging him, and no matter how, even if he was better, they would say he wasn't as good. All this kind of stuff. It's just going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Really hard to deal with.
I think it'd be good though to kind of have him come in and just sort of like, I don't know, ease them into everything. I don't know.
I
Not
agree.
that we have like some huge influence on what people think, but just at the same time, it'd be nice to just kind of give him a chance to talk and introduce himself and stuff like
Right.
that. But
That's why he should be on this show. I mean, this show is about the state of the union. It's the state of the punk pop
not
world.
the Beach Boys pop punk rock pop punk union. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say they are pretty much at the head of the class with modern bands that have any, or at least any that I care about. I can't think of anybody else that's even doing that style. Is there anyone else doing that style that's even like notable?
Well, perhaps not that style, but we could segue into another kind of news-ish topic from the community with the Queers.
Oh gosh.
And their most recent tour and some of the hardship that fell upon them before they left for the tour. And I won't do a fantastic job of recapping it, but perhaps if people are listening and they want to chime in later and kind of give their input, that's cool. It's kind of what we're doing here, giving some ideas to talk about later. But, apparently there was some issues with some Canadian folk that didn't want them to play.
One of the issues is that they're called the Queers and they're not really gay, and that's offensive right there. That's offensive in that even though this band has been in with all the cool crowd and said and done all the right things for all the years, but also at the same time not being politically correct. And I mean, they were just completely they were the favorite band of every leftward kid that you could ever imagine. And it's like now the scene is eating its own, man. It's just charging in and just eating it all up, and it's just ridiculous. It's totally stupid.
To clarify, I mean, it was politically incorrect when they started the band in the 80s because queer is, whoa, you don't want to be queer. But now it's politically incorrect because they're
not actually gay.
Yeah. So it's like their whole career is spanning all these generations are changing whatever with everything.
Right, and the kids are saying, people up there, these wackadoodles up there are saying how they're racist and homophobe and all this ridiculous stuff that's just 5 seconds into their lyrics and you realize how much that's not true. It's just the dumbest thing in the world. And
Joe is our awesome guest a couple weeks, 3-4 weeks ago, I guess.
2 episodes ago, yeah.
2 episodes ago, and he was a great guest, and he's married to a person of another race, and which I would think that immediately makes you not racist, right?
Well, I don't know that it had anything to do necessarily with their name.
I know, I'm just joking, but
the petition actually talked about that.
I don't pretend to know the whole story. I don't want to pretend to know the whole story. I read a little bit about it. I read a ton of comments that sort of were pro this side, anti that. Whatever. I read a fair amount about it, but it sounded more like this particular person kind of just had a grudge almost, and was willing to, throw and just whatever would stick. Just let whatever stick. So throw a whole bunch of accusations and just okay, cool. If this sticks with this person, great. Then they'll jump overboard. If this other thing sticks, then they'll jump overboard. And I don't know. Maybe there's truth to some and not to the other. But the whole idea that in 2016 you put a petition up to stop a band from playing a show at probably what's just a local bar or club type venue. They're not an arena. They're not selling out to 10,000, 50,000 people, pouring their misogynistic, racist, stuff onto just the huge amounts of people. So it's why? What was even the point or the purpose in it? I didn't quite understand that. If you don't like them, don't go. Don't buy their records and don't support them. And post something on your Facebook page that says, "Hey, if you're my friend and you want to support these things, don't go see this show." I mean, the whole idea to petition to have the club say we're going to cancel your show was really, really stupid.
for me, it's a great lesson in that school of thought. How exhausting it must be to try to get and stay in line with it all the time, because the rules literally change all the time.
Right.
And it's like, my goodness, nobody ever can live up to it. Eventually, somebody's gonna, when it's that kind of thing, it's just like, dude, it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Yep. Well, it's probably just Canada.
It's a lot of just miserable people.
Blame Andy.
People are super miserable, and they just feed off of it, and they want to spread it, and it's just.
Okay, it's not just Canada, but Andy's not here to defend his country.
Well, I'm kind of doing double duty here by going around and posting the link. So I'm gonna keep. I'm
What's
gonna
up,
keep
Tom?
the conversation. I'm not gonna go away.
How's it going?
Like I usually do.
You have anything to say about this? Hey, Mickey Mouse is here.
Hey, Mickey Mouse! Hey, look! Tom is not wandering around the kitchen aimlessly tonight.
Well, I just shut off my camera for a second because I did have to help myself to go get a beverage, and I did spin in circles, so I shut the camera off for a minute.
The brothers Giachero are both here. That's pretty awesome.
Tom, I could only see it from this big, but was that John Candy as your
yes, it was.
favorite guy? Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the state of things music-wise these days? What are your thoughts?
It's tough to say because we touched on this before, that like when you're younger, you're definitely more eager to actually give a shit about like new artists and stuff like that, or to really like go after that kind of stuff. I do like new stuff, but I still go back to listen to the same records I listened to when I was 18 and 17. You know what I mean? Like, and just keep playing those things over and over again. But I think if you talk to anybody, they could say the state of music sucks all the time, but I think it's probably worse now than it's been a while. If that makes any sense.
It does.
It totally makes sense, man. Thank you.
It's a big smashed out, crapped out piece of dung.
I jumped on a little. I mean, I jumped on literally like right after you posted that link because I had to put my little bit. But I don't know. Did you guys even talk about the Grammys at all?
No, but we should. I mean, I don't watch that stuff at all, and I don't. I mean, I fully intended on like wanting to talk about it tonight, but I don't even want to watch it to talk about it. Like, if that makes sense, because
that's easy because I didn't watch it.
I don't care. Like,
right.
It's just like I don't understand why people even watch that anymore.
Yeah, but you did back in the day, right?
Back in the day, that's why I ended my sentence with anymore.
Anymore, yeah.
I don't understand why they watch it anymore.
When I was watching it, cool things happened. Like the Beastie Boys came walking out on stage holding their nuts, and Twisted Sister would come out, and I mean it was like there was cool, exciting moments, or crazy, or it's now it's just a bunch of corporate terribleness.
Yeah, and it's
Nirvana played. Chris throws his bass up, whacks him in the head, knocks him out flat on the ground. That doesn't happen anymore.
They tried to they tried to throw a little taste of rock and roll in there this year. They had Alice Cooper with Johnny Depp and Joe Perry, and then it was what the hell's his name? Duff McKagan and Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses.
How was that? That sounds cool.
You probably, Cliff, you'd listen to it, and sonically, like you would have turned it off because it was mixed terribly. Because obviously the same dudes that mix Justin Bieber have no idea how to mix rock and roll. So like the live sound was awful. But I don't know. I mean, it is what it is.
Like how was it awful? Like the cymbals were real loud or something, or what was going on?
All you could hear was, they maybe just because they were trying to really showcase the fact that Johnny Depp was playing guitar in a band, it seemed like all you could hear was his rhythm guitar like just blaring over. Like his like 2-note little lead was way louder than Joe Perry's like ripping solo. So it was just a little weird.
Well, if you ever saw the movie The Mexican, I think he's a really good guitar player. Isn't that him playing? Yeah. I don't know. I will YouTube that.
Yeah.
Because
that was the only like.
I do like Joe Perry.
To date, there has still never been an actor that's ever been able to transition into being a rock star, ever. But it's gone the other way around. But it's never been able to be an actor known for acting who goes and
Did you
becomes a
hear
rock
Joaquin Phoenix's rap album?
star. Yeah. I mean, I don't know of a single person who's ever been able to successfully do that.
Juliette Lewis and the Licks. You know, I mean,
no, that's a pretty fair. That's a pretty good observation.
Courtney Love, we talked about her on the last episode. Interesting.
But again, Courtney Love started.
And then she went to
acting. She went to acting. It's happened the other way around, where a rock person becomes an actor, and that makes sense because so much of being a rocker is acting, you know. So that makes sense. But the rocker, can't. It's like the rock world never accepts someone who's known in movies as being a genuine rock star.
Right.
Ever, never, ever.
Like Elvis was a rocker, and then he became actor as well, you know.
But he was never accepted in the movies either.
Actor, and I don't
what
think
about the dude that was in? I might be thinking of someone totally different.
I don't think there's even a single example where I'm wrong.
Who was the guy who was the guy who was in Scrooged?
Bill Murray?
I can't think of a single example that you're ever wrong, to be honest.
Hey, what can I say?
I don't know.
Chef Boyardee is the best meal that's ever been made.
Hey, Tom, your brother Joe popped on twice and disappeared twice.
Yeah, he just texted me. He's having really bad connection issues. Their house is set up kind of weird, and
he was all awkward like this the whole time.
Well,
like frozen in this like menacing position.
Their Wi-Fi is a little weird in the house, so he went up I think to the office and he's trying to get on the actual PC or something.
Awesome.
Text him and say, "Hey man, it's 2016."
Well, when you have a 5,200 square foot house, I mean it's a little.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
I'm just joking.
Hey, tell him we want to talk about the old Huntington's website.
Oh, I'm sure.
You want to bring it back.
He'll be on.
Bring it back just as it was. Like, don't change anything.
And then I'll instant message him and ask him to move individual letters around again.
All joking
right
aside,
now, you know what happens when you go to Huntington'sUSA.com right now? It goes to DonaldTrump.com.
Really?
Yeah.
For real?
Well, he bought up all the old websites, and it all just
bought up all the websites.
No way it does. Let me see. That'll be the coolest thing in the world.
He's gonna try it.
I am.
All joking aside, if
It does. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't. It goes to buy. It says it's for sale. Buy it.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't think so. I ain't buying
No, but Cliff, you should go. Cliff, go to JebBush.com and see what happens.
I'll melt.
No, just type it in. See what happens. I'm serious.
It goes right to Donald Trump's website.
DonaldTrump.com.
Does it really?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, what I was saying though is
That's hilarious. Good job, dude.
My wife is really good at getting rid of stuff that doesn't need to be around anymore. But the only thing that I hold on to, there's like probably 5 different towers in my basement of old computers that I use, and there's probably the computer that Joe originally made that website on still down in the basement somewhere.
Yeah. Back when Mike was like obsessed, like the biggest fan in the world with that Memento movie.
Yep. And that was before, but that was before anybody had any really decent fast internet connection. So the website would take like an hour to load for any normal person because it was still AOL days, you know. But it was dude.
It sucked because like you had to hear the music, you had to have all the things go across the screen or whatever. But if you had a slow internet connection, you're just like, you know, I'm in the band. I'm trying to get to our website and I can't get to it because my parents have.
He didn't make a dial-up version.
Yeah.
Well, Tom and Joe might have a opinion on the topic that we were talking about pre-show with the whole like scalper.
What was that long-winded thing you were talking about MXPX with?
Me? Long-winded? Come on.
Yeah, say it again.
Did you mention did brand new come up at all?
No, because other than myself, no one in this show cares about brand new.
No, but here's the thing. I don't care about brand new either. I don't care about brand new either, but they are going on a tour with Modest Mouse, and they're playing at the Man Music Center, which is a big, outdoor venue in Philly. So what happened was, just like anything else, as soon as it went on sale, scalpers with all their bots and everything that go on there bought up all the tickets. Aside from the couple hundred kids who might have got lucky enough to get tickets. Brand New fought and went after who's ever putting the show on. They got all those tickets back, reacquisitioned all those tickets from the scalpers, and put them out and have a link that specifically can only be bought by personal. I don't know how they police it, but now they're available to fans again.
Yeah.
So in the old days, the only way you would, or like if they wouldn't have done that, the only way you could have done it was to buy like super expensive.
Correct, but
Right.
So here's real quick, not to steal the floor here, but long story short, neighbor of mine was trying to get tickets to go see Adele for his wife. Adele's been like the biggest ticket right now for Philadelphia. My mother-in-law has some contacts; she can pull some things at Wells Fargo, so I contacted her. It is completely impossible. The place that she went only had 3 tickets available, and it's impossible to scalp tickets for the Adele show because you have to bring the original credit card you purchased that ticket with. There are no paper tickets for any of her shows. So you have to just redeem it with the credit card. That being said, I mean the tickets were ridiculously expensive, but
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is a huge problem with Huntington's.
I don't think it's a big deal personally. I think if someone, it's to me, I understand a band not wanting their fans to have to pay exorbitant prices, but one, it shows how successful the band has become that somebody, as a business model, has decided to do that with their tickets in the first place and be able to make money off that. Two, if your show is still sold out and people still go crazy and are still paying all that money, even though you don't get it, you got what you wanted out of it. So then, and they're all at your show, that still, it shows the power of you, and it's still, to me, the free market's still, it's still good.
I think that's like a theoretically good way of looking at it, but I don't think it's like a pragmatic way of looking at it. I think it's like, okay, yeah, you've made a point that they could have charged. I mean, but the thing is if the ticket price is $20 and the scalper charges $30, the next time you go out, you say, oh, cool, I can charge $30, and the next time the scalper buys all the tickets, and then they charge $40, and the next thing you know, you don't get to go see a show for less than $60 because the internet allows these people to just go grab up these tickets and sell them to people who otherwise can't get them.
Yes, but then they're on the hook to have to find people to buy them. What if they went and did that and then they lose out on money on it?
Well, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. I'm sure that it's not just a person
still
who
a risk.
Puts together. Oh, of course, it's a gamble. It's totally a gamble. Like I'm sure the people who have crafted this way of these bot things that go in and grab up all these tickets, they probably lose money on some shows and make money on some shows, and at the end of the day, it balances out and they make more money than they lose. But I mean, literally, how much does it cost you to sit on your computer, run some program, buy up a bunch of tickets, and then resell them? It's not really costing you that much when you do all this internet.
Well, how come that's not illegal? Just like how come it's illegal? How come it's illegal to go and sell a ticket on the street outside of the show, but it's not illegal to do that?
Well, it probably is.
If it is, then how's anybody being able to find somebody to buy the tickets?
How does StubHub exist legally?
Yeah, it's how did PokerStars.com exist in the United States for years before they finally said, oh wow, people are gambling online in states where gambling is illegal. Let's shut that down. I mean, it happened for years before they finally got wind of it and said, wow, we're not making any money off of this. People are making money off of this. We got to shut it down. And that's just the thing. If it got big enough to a point where the government found, oh crap, we're losing money on people selling things, it would be a problem. It would get shut down pretty quick.
Well, the thing is too, though, you think about these websites though, and you mentioned, okay, you're gonna sell a ticket for $20. Now the scalper's selling it for $30. In the case of that band, Brand New, the ticket that was $25, people were selling for $400 and actually getting the money for it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
But I understand. But all I'm saying, that is still me. If that was happening to my band, I would not care. I would say
you would though, Cliff, because you're getting you're only getting a cut of $25. You're not getting the cut of that
Right,
$400.
but I wouldn't need it because I'm still getting the cut of the prices that I set, and so I'm still getting what my initial thing was. It just because I find out I could have got more, that's whatever. But if
No.
if a fan is crazy enough to do that, then I say, wow, look at how much my band is awesome.
You probably couldn't have gotten more, but the people who are doing this are probably going to make more money than the band.
But that's okay.
Well,
Everybody makes more money than the band.
What's that?
When does that not happen?
Well, that does just because when does that not happen doesn't mean it's okay.
I
It's
mean,
like
how many shows have we played where the club made way more than we did when we were the reason that anybody came out in the first place.
Right, the club that is a business that is cycling bands in and out of there 5-6 nights a week, as opposed to someone sitting in their mom's basement, like ripping kids off for hundreds of dollars per ticket.
Right.
I mean, there is I don't know, call me picky, but there's a difference there.
Listen,
no, I understand the difference.
Feel the
difference
burn,
isn't
man.
lost on me. I'm simply saying
burn.
for me it's the same aspect of why it never bothered me that we never got royalties. You know what I mean? And it's to me, the record label, they provided a visibility of the band. People got to know who we were, all that kind of stuff, and that was a trade-off to me that was fair. And I never looked at a record label's job as making me famous. I looked at it as up to us to gain our audience. So,
in the same respect, though, we played a show last year where we got on the show and said, we want to strongly influence you to make the tickets less money. Like we think what you're charging for this show is too much. We want to, and we kind of we didn't like demand it, like at all, but we kind of said, hey, this is too much money.
Right. If you want anybody to be there, you'll be smart and you'll lower the rate.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of the same thing. It's like, I mean, I would never want to not that our band would be in a position where we would sell tickets online and then someone would go scalp them for $400, but I would feel terrible if someone paid $400 to come see our band. That would be ridiculous to me.
I wouldn't feel terrible. I would feel like that fan is really, really, really a fan, and they have a lot of money.
Right, but if they
or maybe they don't have a lot of money and they didn't give their kid a birthday present to come see the band. I mean, there's
not much. They might as well the money should go to the band rather than a scalper. If not that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much.
But if there is.
Well, then we got to shut down. Vendors on the street selling pretzels outside before the basketball games because
you can buy pretzels inside though. That's the difference is like if you sell out an entire show and you don't allow let's take the really crazy hypothetical example that a scalper loses on a particular gig. They buy 1,000 of the 1,200 tickets, and they don't sell a single one of them. And then then the band shows up, and there's only 200 people there in a 1,200 person arena, venue, and
it's kind of like a bummer, but they also get all their money because they sold all the tickets.
Personally, I feel like that's a really weird way of looking at it.
Here's a question.
The reason. Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
I just want to see Mike, just in your, and not picking on you, but just to see if this is just because you have a soft spot for musicians or what. But does it piss you off that somebody that was a true Broncos fan had to pay $28,000 to go see them in the Super Bowl, when all the other tickets were just kind of eaten up by corporate, bigwigs?
Oh yeah,
that's
ridiculous too. Yeah,
but
in any way, shape, or
at home
form,
on his TV for free.
If the price of some sort of an event or attraction is falsely driven up by a person or a group of people going in and swooping up tickets, that's lame.
You don't like capitalism?
I think the definition that most Americans have of capitalism is bad. I don't think they quite understand what that means. But no, that particular type of greed is not cool in my book. Because I don't think that most people, if the tickets for the Super Bowl were just $28,000, no matter who you were, like, how many people would be there?
Well,
right. Most of those tickets, I think, actually get given away to.
A fair amount of them do,
yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
you know, people
So what
love
happened was
people
someone-
love them some sports.
Someone got a free ticket and then sold it for $28,000 to some guy who just had to sell his trailer.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah.
but
Pretty
if you're like a person who is willing to sell your life for an experience, then hey, dude, that's your decision to make, man. Whatever.
I don't know that we should necessarily be encouraging.
It's not an encouraging. It's an encouraging. It's a discouragement to say, dude, you're losing your life for an experience. What's wrong with you?
You know, the
But
Super
if
Bowl.
you want to do it, it's a free world. You can do it. But to say you can't do it is wrong to me.
Although, like, the last bunch of Super Bowls have always been kind of very similar teams have been in there every year for the most part. But you know, there are a lot of people that who are just crazy sports fans who would love to see their team there, and they get the chance or whatever, and they're like, oh, you know what? I made an extra couple grand doing this year or whatever. Okay,
Right.
I'm gonna buy a Super Bowl ticket, you know, and like it would be a huge dream come true, or like their kids would buy it for them or something, you know, as a Christmas present or whatever. But like, when it comes to like who that money goes to, like it's not like it's going to the players or the NFL or anything like that. When we talk about the band, we talk about like, you know, a band that's losing money, not losing money, but like, you know, having fans show up and spending a lot more money that's not going to them. Going to some bum on the street or whatever.
But they got what they wanted. Someone else took it to someone else, saw something that they wanted to take a chance on, a risk on, and then they had their risk pay off. Okay. It's like, okay, how do you guys feel about drugs? Should drugs be illegal?
No.
Okay. Should hard drugs be illegal? Heroin, everything. Because there's a lot of people that freely, of their own free choice, they give their lives away for that experience. It
doesn't matter if they're illegal. Every hard drug is illegal.
I'm saying, but it's the point here that I'm making is that in pure capitalism, somebody takes a risk, the reward is what it is. Either you win or you lose at the end of the day. It's up to you to take that risk or to not take that risk.
Yeah. It's it's interesting little, you know, it's one of those things that I don't know.
Does that make sense?
Gonna agree on. I agree.
And I don't want drugs to be legal. I want drugs to be gone because I think that's a scourge on our nation. But still, it's people's free choice to do it. They don't have to do it. They do it. They think it's going to be cool somehow, or they give their whole lives away for that experience. But it's on them, not me. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I mean, I think we're kind of shifting focus away from like the original topic of like the band thing, and like if you go back and you think about, okay, the guy that paid $400 to go see, what was it, Brand New and Modest Mouse?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe he's rich and has $400 to blow on a show, or maybe he spent, you know, his grocery money to go see the show, which was, you know, stupid choice. Maybe he's a dumb kid, but he gets there, he's not going to buy any merch from either of them. He's not going to like spend any money while he's there if he spent all $400 on the stupid ticket.
I bet a guy that spent $400 on a concert ticket is so invested that they're going to buy one of everything there when they get there too. Because if you're crazy enough and you have the kind of money to do that, you're thinking about it as like, I'm all in, man. I'm all in. I could see my mom doing that. My mom doing that crap. And she, you know, some American Idol scalper buying that some $250 ticket, and then she goes there and she spends $500 on merchandise too because she's all in it.
Yeah, right, but you assume that the person had the $400 to begin with.
My mom didn't have that money, but she did it anyway.
Taking it from some other like predestined bill that they had to pay and putting it towards the ticket.
That's exactly right. They're making a choice of they're funneling their money that way because they want it.
Right. And so that's what I think should probably not be encouraged. And when I use the word encouraged, I mean let's kind of try to not let that happen. Let's try to not let feeble-minded people do stupid stuff with their money.
Yeah. You calling my mom feeble-minded?
I might be. Yeah.
Oh,
I might be.
You're
But
lucky you're in Baltimore right
how are you
now.
going to dictate to someone what they should be allowed to do with their money? I mean,
I'm not saying you should dictate what they should be allowed to do with their money, but when you just take it to a point where you're saying anyone with a computer and the ability to like run something that can scoop up every single ticket for every single show that ever exists and drive the price through the roof, then you allow that to happen, and good luck getting tickets for shows.
But you know what? In reality,
Have a great time getting your tickets to your shows.
I just choose not to go to any of the shows like that.
right. But ultimately, that my view is that that's the kind of thinking that when you keep parsing it out and keep parsing it further out and further out, then you get into this whole thing that we're kind of at now, where, well, but some people are just more talented than other people. Well, why? Why should they be more talented than other people? Why is someone else willing to take a risk on something and someone else isn't? Why should there be a payoff for someone who took a risk versus why shouldn't the person who did not take a risk why shouldn't they get that? There's all that kind of stuff, and that I just can't see clearly through any of that kind of stuff, and I see all that kind of stuff like that.
If you take a risk, I mean that.
I mean, I agree.
Taking
if it was my
risk,
band doing
taking
happening,
a
I
risk
might
and
feel the
taking
same way.
advantage of people aren't the same thing. I mean,
Yeah, but the band's not taking advantage of them. It's somebody on the free market doing it.
Right. That's what the person who's doing it on the quote unquote free market is the person I'm talking about. Like,
right.
Taking a risk and taking advantage of people is not the same thing.
Right. I mean, it is similar to how I remember we thought it was cool when what was the band? What's the band from Seattle? They got in the big war with Ticketmaster.
Pearl Jam.
Yeah, when Pearl Jam got in the big
because they didn't want the fees.
The prices were being artificially driven up with those fees, and they didn't want their fans to have to do that, but they still needed to make what they needed to make to keep their juggernaut on the road and all that kind of stuff, and they wanted to somehow get around that. They didn't win. You know, they didn't end up. Ultimately, it was a battle they couldn't win. But the fact that they fought it and had those thoughts, we thought that was cool. I remember thinking that. So this is that same kind of thing. I mean, you don't want to see your fans get ripped off. I get that. But to me, I'm like, man, that's power to the band. I mean, to me, that's like more.
Yeah, but
so it's like, what kind of band has that much power that their fans are willing to do that? That's crazy.
On the same note, though, I guarantee you Pearl Jam on that same tour was probably selling T-shirts at a hugely inflated cost.
Well, sure. Of course.
So, do they really care about their fans being ripped off?
There's the internet thing nowadays, which we have, which is totally causing these issues. And then there's, like, you know, the way it used to be, like, 15 years ago. I remember buying AC/DC tickets where I had to set my alarm on a Saturday and drive to the place where Ticketmaster sold tickets and wait in line at 5 or 6 a.m., like, with all these people to buy AC/DC tickets, and I bought more than I needed, you know, and you know, it was basically like, okay, hopefully I can find enough friends to go with me, but anyway, yeah, like.
So you bought AC/DC tickets and gave them
now.
away for free just to have people to go with you?
No, I mean, I just, like, I thought that.
Did you sell the tickets?
He sold them to his friends for twice
Scalper!
the price.
Scalper!
Because I was there that early, that I would for sure be able to get, like, some good tickets. Instead, I was still way up in the nosebleeds, and you know, and really, I bought tickets for $50 a piece, and then I went to, you know, that morning I basically, like, still didn't really have people to go with me, so yeah, pretty much gave them away. But we, you know, I went with some friend. I went with Chris Klein and Greg Akopian. I don't know if you remember that guy.
I do. He stole my CD. He stole like a few of my CDs.
Yeah, and Fred from Fred and the Savages. Yep. The four of us went. We had a freaking blast. It was the best thing ever. We talked about it for like a year.
Awesome.
And anyway,
Joe, pipe up, man. What are you doing? You're muted. Still can't hear you, dude. No audio from Joe. I don't understand the sign language.
Joe's muted. All right, so Joe, figure
Joe,
that
you
out.
all right?
I gotta announce something to everybody here real quick because, Chris, it's not what you're thinking. Chris and I just got a message that was pretty cool, but I haven't even read it yet. But I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But
it's pretty awesome. You should.
But aside from that, while we were talking about all this, the reason I even brought it up in the first place is because I heard it on Mike Herrera's podcast about the whole ticket scalper thing, and he had Tom Chichilla on, who is like MXPX booking agent. He was the Queers booking. He's Screeching Weasels. He does a lot of the pop punk bands. Obviously, like when we played that show with Screeching Weasel at Irving Plaza, that was Tom's show that he put together. I shot him a quick email. I was like, hey, why don't you come help us out with this conversation and make it a little bit better? And he said, yeah, give me 10 minutes stall. So he's planning on joining us in a bit. Just throwing that out there.
Tom Chinchilla?
Yeah, so when... Thanks,
Cliff. That's funny. This is cool because like we got together briefly in our little like pre-show huddle to say what are we going to talk about, like what are we going to throw out there, and Josh said, hey, let's talk about this whole like scalping tickets thing, and Cliff was like, that's
right.
boring.
Looks like that's lame.
He ended up consuming the last 30 minutes.
You know why? Because that has nothing to do with us, because we're never going to run into that issue.
Right.
We will never run into an issue where we will sell out the show because
Hey, Tom Chinchilla's here.
Yo, Tom Chinchilla, what's up, dog?
Tom, what's up? And Tom in the hat there. Tom?
Different Tom.
Mike's drunk already?
Not yet. Not yet. Close. Hey, Andy, you were late to the show because you were out buying up all the Adele tickets, right?
Adele tickets? Yes. That's what I was doing, yes.
Joe, can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Hey!
Alright, I had to switch.
Thumbs up,
Hey,
man.
Andy, Josh is about to get mad at me. But we'll see you June 8th.
What?
We'll see you on June 8th.
See who?
You.
You're going to see me on June 8th?
In all the beautiful Montreal.
Oh, yeah? You guys are with CJ?
What do you call yourself? Montrealians?
Is that the Pooza Fest?
I'm gonna start a petition to get you guys shut down.
Is that Pooza Fest?
CJ Ramon should not be allowed to play Montreal because it's not the real Ramones playing with him, and so he shouldn't be allowed to play in Montreal.
Cliff,
I'm going
I got a
to
great
buy
idea.
all the tickets for Pooza Fest and sell them for $1,000 a piece.
Yeah, dude, let's do it because we know now before anyone else.
That's
Who's
right.
going to be there? Let's buy it up. Let's do it.
I already bought them. I did it in my mom's basement.
The best thing is how your voice sounds right now. It's awesome. It's like through a tube, really loud.
Okay.
It also sounds like a 1-year-old.
Like what?
Maybe like Joey, like someone in the background likes talking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, dude? Joe, man? Joe, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
Thanks for joining, man. I think we have the same curtains somewhere in our house.
Yeah? World Market?
I don't know.
That's the best you got, Josh?
Andy, I think we have the same drywall in our garage.
Oh, yeah.
I see that drywall behind you. It looks familiar.
Right.
Is that toaster from IKEA? Wait,
No,
Newsflash, Andy. IKEA doesn't sell appliances.
They do in Canada, buddy. No, they don't. What do you guys got going on? I got a little Sleeman going on here.
I got a little.
No, Stella. Sorry, Stella. I got some Stella.
Bourbon and soda.
Oh, this guy's going hard tonight. This guy's getting serious.
Cliff?
Yep.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man. I'm sick. I haven't shaved in a
about?
couple days or bathed. I'm going to take a bath, or I'm going to take a shower in the morning, and I hope that makes me feel better for the big rock and roll weekend we got planned.
That sucks, dude. Your armpits must be itching right now.
No, I don't really stink.
He was
That's
talking about
amazing.
shaving.
Shaving.
No,
I don't shave my armpits.
no, I know. I was making a joke.
Because you said you hadn't shaved in a couple days.
I don't get it.
I was making a joke that you shave your armpits. Never mind.
Why is that a joke?
Because you said I haven't shaved in a couple days. So he said, oh, your armpits must be itchy.
Yeah, but why would that be funny?
Oh, never mind.
I don't know. A man shaving his armpits. I guess that would be funny.
Is this Josh? Is this good stalling? Is this good stalling for Tom?
Stalling.
See, I'm making this as awkward as possible on purpose.
No, you're good, man.
What are you guys talking? So what are you guys
okay.
talking about?
Are you trying to call me a girly man? Hey, I don't give a crap, dude.
No, I was just.
Dude, Andy, is there
a little armpit humor, you know?
Andy, is there a big problem with
Roses.
scalping in Canada?
Probably the Indians. Yeah.
Or does
Yeah.
or does the government regulate that like they regulate everything else?
It's
They
probably
probably-
it's probably a lot of hockey games that get scalped, right? Because
I don't know.
Canada and
Right
hockey.
now, our hockey team is literally they're on like a 24-game losing streak right now. So it's
Really? Are they called the Philadelphia 76ers or no?
no.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I get them mixed up sometimes.
yeah, the Sixers. Yeah, you don't hear too much about them.
No, I think they started the season like 0-50 or something. But
Hey man, they got 8 wins.
Wait, so
Didn't it? Yeah.
you guys, why don't you Huntingtons play? Come up and play too. June.
yeah, guys.
Is it Pooza Fest?
I don't know, man. Pooza Fest might be a little too late for that. You gotta get on. You gotta get on those things like
Well, what
now.
do you? So this is
next
just like a CJ Ramon show.
What Chris said. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm getting messages now about it. There's it looks like June 8th,
Do you know the venue?
Montreal, Les Fufunis.
Oh, Fufu Electric. Fufu Electric.
I know I
Yeah,
said
that's-
that, wrong, but yeah.
Yeah,
Nah,
I've been there.
man, it's Les Fufunis.
Yeah, that's cool.
That place.
Awkward.
Very
Yeah.
awkward.
I mean, like, there's, this is not the time to like read my messages and figure this out and whatnot. So yeah,
Way to go, Chris.
and Chris isn't even here.
Yeah, he
Chris.
just threw a bomb and ran
Come
off.
on. Yeah.
Oh.
Chris, you got any prostate exam test results you want to share with us about Josh or anything else? Chris, where are you at?
You know, Tom's,
That's why they
Tom's
call
little
him
picture is
Blabbermouth.
perfect right now for what's going on. It's just
It's
perfect.
John Candy. Yeah.
Yes, perfect. With his hand up.
So how are you guys doing?
Good, man. You know what? We haven't had you on the show in a while, right? Like
Yeah,
3 episodes.
I've been working like a dog, like a diggity dog.
Dude, those tables that you're building are awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to get into concrete right now. Concrete tables. That's kind of like where.
You could probably build a good band practice room. We should hire you to get in the band.
Hey Andy.
Yeah,
Hey
yeah.
Andy.
What's up?
I bet you that's a hard field to get into. See, I got jokes too.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, bro.
Hey, Tom, have you been able to try out a Windsor yet?
Tom, why are you sideways? What's going on, man?
He's laying down.
There we go. No, I have not been able to, Cliff.
All right, well, next time you're around, I'll let you play mine. You can let me know what you think.
Awesome.
Cliff, you got some nice guitars going on now, man. Well, how many do you have now?
3.
Oh,
Well, 3 electrics and 1 acoustic.
yeah. I have 0, man.
Sorry, Tom. Tom was asking details. How's it work? Blah blah blah. So, yeah. As we continue to stall before we bring him on.
Stalling. Continue to
stall.
stall.
Yeah.
I'm tanking. I might have to leave soon. I'm freaking sick, man. I gotta stay in bed.
I was gonna say it's probably the reason why Andy hasn't been on. Like Andy wasn't on the Joe Queer episode, right?
Nope.
No.
Probably because you were in Canada and boycotting the queers.
Right.
Segue. Like that?
Good segue.
What's up with that, man?
Speaking of segways, do they still use segways anywhere?
What's a Segway?
It's
What's
a
a
two-wheel thing that you spin around. It's like a scooter.
Come on,
So is that
segue.
band, is that
Segway,
band
that's
from the
something
80s?
French.
Are they really
Know
called
that.
Segway, Segway Sputnik?
Paul Blart?
Yes, Paul Blart.
Yes, that's what it is.
Paul Blart. Actually,
Like
hold
Paul
on.
Blart.
Hold on. Watch this. We were just watching this tonight.
Oh, jeez.
That's good.
That.
The second one's not good.
You have to talk for you to come up on the screen, buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even show you. Hold on. This is what we were watching right here, if everyone could see. Hey, you see that? There it is.
Was it awesome?
It's a good thing you. It's a good thing you watched it on Blu-ray. You know, to get that nice crisp 1080p quality.
I got it on Laserdisc. It sucks.
Tom usually comes up on the screen when he's fumbling around in his kitchen, making all kinds of clangy and bangy noises.
Well,
Dude,
I just urinated.
guy-
That's
this-
when Uncle Buck came up.
You call your wiener Uncle Buck?
Oh, hey-o.
Hi-yo!
Yes,
All right,
Paul-
so Andy, to get you involved in the conversation that at some point Tom Chichilla will be involved in, we were discussing the problem or not problem of people buying up tickets to concerts and selling them for outrageous prices, and just giving thoughts and observations on that.
Yeah, that's a bummer, man. That's a bummer when people do that. Wait, what side are we on?
No, there's no side. There's all sides. We're on all sides.
It was a great
Right.
episode, though. I love it.
So,
Free-form conversation about the topic.
Hmm.
Now he's scared. He doesn't know what to say.
Dead air.
Andy.
What am I
Andy,
supposed to say?
What was everyone else's opinion?
Well, hold on. Andy, does StubHub exist in Canada? If something is sold out, is there?
First of all, that's a horrible name.
Hey,
Second
Andy,
of all-
if you had to guess, do you think that me and Mike came to the same conclusion on this topic?
No.
Correct.
Hey, Andy, real quick, do you think that Cliff and I came to the same conclusion on any topic we've discussed so far?
You mean like up to
Like on anything?
2016?
On any-
No, you and I agree on a lot of stuff, dude.
I'm just kidding.
You
No,
guys
really
look-
though, Andy, is there any outlet if you want to go see X band
Yeah.
and it's sold out? Is there any way other than waiting and going to find someone outside the venue? Is there any way for you to go buy sold out tickets in Canada?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
But let's put that in context to say that that's not exactly what we were talking about. We weren't talking about people who bought tickets and then their son got sick and had to sell them on StubHub. We're talking about people who purposefully put together programs to buy up a bunch of tickets all at once with the pure intention and only intention of selling them at outrageously inflated prices.
Yeah, because isn't it only scalping when they raise the price? Then
Correct.
Then it's
Correct.
illegal, right?
Yes, sir.
Like you could go buy as many as you want and then sell them, as long as you're selling them at the right, which I guess would be pointless.
Well, here's how I understand eBay works with it. Like, because if you buy a ticket to a sporting event and you want to sell it, eBay will flag you and like take it off if you actually like charge more than what the ticket value is. But
Yeah.
if you include anything in that auction, like a pencil, for example, or a piece of tape, I'm just naming things that are around my desk, you can sell it, Ticket to the World Series plus a piece of tape wrapped around a pencil. It's legal to sell it, as long as you include that. But StubHub is a little different. You can't really do that with StubHub because it's StubHub. You have to actually type in the ticket number that's on the ticket so that it's legit, and then the person can actually print it off of their StubHub account or whatever. So, yeah, you got a bunch of bots out there buying tickets when they're at low ticket value or low ticket count or whatever, and they sell them on StubHub or whatever, and they They're
I think
making
it was
profit.
cool. I would think it would be cool if my band was popular enough that people wanted to do that.
You think it'd be cool? Let's ask Tom. Tom just joined us.
What's up, Tom? How you doing, buddy?
How does it work? This is so confusing. There's too many people, and then too many pictures of people I don't know.
So
Yeah,
that's all right, man.
I don't really know any of us.
Just scroll over to the people you want to look at. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Can you do it that way?
Yeah, you
Oh.
can move the people.
Oh, no shit. I'm going to be so distracted
All
by
right,
this.
who do you know and who do you not know? It's okay if you don't know any of us.
I don't know any of you.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, we've done one show with you that you booked, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
it.
Exactly. And Josh has emailed me a lot.
Right. So you got guys, you got it's everybody right now that's on this channel are either in the Huntingtons, were in the Huntingtons, or are associated with the Huntingtons in some way. Me and Mike started the band. Josh has been in the band for a very long time. Andy was in the band while I was gone and did a great job, just great. And Tom was in the band when he left for about 5 minutes and did a great job on the album. But he's not here. But John Candy is. So that's the deal.
Okay, cool. Well,
Not
nice
that you
to
were
meet all of
following
you.
all that, but yeah.
I find it useful to actually know who I'm talking to. So thank you. That actually helps.
That's it, man.
So
Yeah.
So is your position on StubHub, is it that the band should reap some of those profits, or is it you don't like the idea that the fans are getting ripped off in your guys' minds? Like where are you guys coming from?
That's really not a black and white question. It's more that it's not that I mean bands could get a cut of this stuff. Like I mean if that's up to them, but for me I have a problem with the fact that we work in music and we don't actually care about the people who buy the tickets to the events or are trying to buy the tickets to the events. And so what really came about with this whole thing that I'm in the middle of at the moment is basically let me put it simply. We put a lot of time and effort into making things a certain way, and I spend way too much time fighting promoters about certain details for somebody else to get rich off of something, and to not even take advantage of necessarily me or the promoter. It was by the people buying tickets. And I kind of think that what has changed about the music industry to this point is the only thing that really matters actually are the people who buy tickets, because you don't actually need promoters anymore. And those people will follow you wherever you want them to go. And so in my opinion, it was more just like, wait a second, there are people making thousands of dollars off of us right now, and by that money off of us, they're really taking it directly from them. And it just didn't seem right, and so we decided to just kind of like go down the rabbit hole, I guess, and find out what happens. And so my actual position on it, I mean, to tell you the truth, at the moment, so I don't really have one. I don't like it. Let's put it this way, I don't like it, but there's a lot of things that I'm learning that people don't mind actually paying a lot of money for something, and we're the ones preventing them from paying a lot of money for something. But in that case, like, why don't we come up with something else where the bands do get a cut of it, but in this particular case, if we're talking about what's going on with MXPX right now, it's simply that we like to control everything and we're control freaks, and we don't get to do that with them. And so it was our kind of way of going like, wait, no, we said it would be this way. And so we wanted to find out what would happen.
Right.
Well,
So how are you
real quick
actively
before we do anything else, Tom, you came in, and I think everyone in the room actually knows who you are and what you do.
Thanks.
But we may want to just like take a quick step back and just take, however long you need, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever, however long you need, to just explain like exactly what it is that
who you are and what you do
for these bands.
Well, I'm Tom, and I pretty much have a job where I just do everything for only a couple bands now. And so it's MXPX, Screeching Weasel, Five Iron Frenzy, and then well, I don't really want to drop anybody that I'm with at the moment, but hopefully no more. I have no time for anything else, so that's enough for me. But I run all aspects of our business really and work directly with them to figure out what the hell it is we actually want to do. So
That's cool.
All right.
Over easy booking.
yes, well that's only the only reason I have that as a name is because before I got the Screeching Weasel job, Ben Weasel said I needed a name or he wouldn't work with me. He was like,
And you
"What
like
kind of guy-"
eggs.
Yeah, well, that's really what happened. I was cooking eggs in the morning, and someone was just like, "Why don't you just do it the way you like your eggs?" And I was like, "Okay." So I just turned around and I told Ben and Joe Queer at the time, I was like, "How about over easy?" And they're like, "We don't give a fuck." And so, yeah, in fact, I don't ever. The irony is, people latch onto a company name, and I never, even from back then, I never thought it was important. I always just wanted to just be a person. And be by kind of like myself and just be like, this is Tom and this is what he does. But I was told I needed a company, and to tell you the truth, like 5 years later, I still don't understand why I need a company name. It doesn't really matter. So
on your taxes, are you over easy or are you Tom Chinchilla?
I have my everything is done with a DBA in my typical business. So it will switch. I'm gonna be forming an LLC around it soon, and the only reason that is because now we have other people that work with us, and so now there is some liability to really worry about that affects people, not just me. So
Yeah.
But before it wasn't really a big deal, and it was just kind of like, well, here we go. But
So how much does ticket prices affect you as a booking agent as opposed to the band itself?
well. See, if I was a traditional booking agent, it really wouldn't matter because you just get like a straight percentage off of whatever you're negotiating. But with what I do, like now, and I'm not giving away any secrets here, but like now there are a lot of the cases that we are our own promoters and we just go and rent a room. And so a ticket price going up directly affects how much money we all as a business make. And then my cut comes off of all that amount of money, if that makes sense. So it's the higher it is, probably the more money I make, depending on if we actually sell the tickets. That's what I'm trying to say.
So not to steal the floor, but why can't MXPX offer a $200 ticket to the ultimate fan that's going to get a 30-minute barbecue lunch with them before the show, and you can say, screw you, scalper, I'm going to make that extra money off of this fan?
There's actually nothing stopping us from doing that other than the fact that they don't want to.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it's not to say they won't ever, but what you just said is something that I've been saying to a lot of people, is that this whole thing has opened up this can of worms where I realize that, again, people are willing to pay what you just said for what you just said. And because of that, we're just not doing it, whether it's punk rock principles or something else. And so because of that, we're leaving something on the table for some new kind of business model to come in. And I don't think it's necessarily VIP tickets. I don't know what it is yet, but the reason I cut down my roster is because I now get paid to basically figure that out.
But it's so easy. It's so easy to piss and moan about someone else making the money, but you sound totally legit with what you're saying, that you're trying to find a way to get a piece of that money that someone else is actually taking that did nothing to make that money.
Yeah, well, it's, again, it's not even really that I want a piece of it. It's more that, like, we spent, and Josh probably knows a little bit about this from listening to me ramble, but, like, I spent so much time with, like, say, Mike Herrera or Ben Weasel, like, planning what these things are and who's going to be on the bill, and then having to go to promoters or the rooms and negotiate these things just to make the money work to get these things to happen. And so it's a lot of work, and then to come and find out that somebody is, like, say I mean, there in some cases there'll be people who would buy 10 tickets to an event, sell them for $200 a piece, leave with $2,000, and in some cases that's more than members of the band make, depending on the show. So it's one of these things where we never even thought about this world until it was right in our face that it is all principle that these people are just making a bunch of money that we don't think they should be making, number one, but they're doing it not off of us. I mean, technically it's the band, but they're doing it off of the actual fan base. And, you know, that person can buy, you know, doesn't buy as much merch or booze or whatever at the show. And then some people are rich and they just don't give a fuck. But it's not even necessarily about that, you know, we really want a cut. It's not like, okay, here's your resale site, because there are sites that give bands cuts that will let you do it. And in our case, it's not that. It's more just me realizing straight up that there are people who go and pay the $200 and don't care that they paid the $200. And when you have that, you just kind of go to yourself, well, why don't we find out a way for people who really want to spend $200 on an MXPX show to be able to? But to make this a little bit more complicated from what you just said, if we put up those VIP tickets the same way that these tickets were,
Right.
they're scalper bots, and so like they'll buy the tickets anyway. If we don't make it hard for them to get, it's not the amount of money each ticket costs. I mean, like what Tool just had, or At the Drive-In just had that thing sell out in seconds for some of their stuff, and those tickets were way more expensive than ours. And you know, then they're up times 4 or 5 or 8 or whatever they are on StubHub at the moment, or Ticketmaster resale or whatever. And it's all just robots, and it's all a mathematical formula. And the hard part that is really hard to understand is that it's so much programs that when we canceled a bunch of orders, I literally freed up. I went through the buying list, circled a whole bunch, and said, we're just canceling these, and we refunded people. And we didn't get even one complaint, and I freed up about 160 tickets the first time.
That's awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
Not even one, though. That's ridiculous. It was literally all robots.
All robots. Yeah. And see, back in the day, like if this was happening, like, you know, if we were in the mid '90s, MXPX might have a youth group that wants to buy 20, 30 tickets, you know, and they would have somebody from the church, or, you know, say youth group, because, you know, why, but like, you know, like, and maybe that would make sense. And it doesn't really happen anymore. You're not going to have that those kind of crowds showing up so much anymore. But like, it totally, I see where I get what you're saying. And Cliff made a point earlier about it, the risk, like, you know, kind of like a gamble, like buy a Powerball ticket or buy a ticket to a MXPX show and try and sell it. Like, it's really not, you know, it could be the same thing if you're doing it for that reason. But if you're buying a bunch of them, that's where you're able to catch them, you know, and see that, okay, this is a robot. This is not a person that like wants 10 of his friends to go see the show, right? You know, and that's where you're making your like changes to it all, right? Like you're seeing when there's like 10 or 20 tickets that are bought all at once, and, you know, canceling them out or whatever, right? Am I, Tom? Hello?
He froze.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, he's frozen. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, if you can still hear us, you seem to have locked up. So if you can and desire to...
He's probably still thinking about it.
Oh, rejoin.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm back. Okay,
There he goes.
Yeah.
Last thing I heard was Cliff made a point earlier, and then you froze.
Oh, okay. My bad. So I froze.
Yeah, I was just talking about the pure capitalistic part of it. You know, it's if somebody wants to go in and buy 1 million tickets, they're not guaranteed to win on it. But this band's still going to get what the price that they set for the tickets. They're still going to get their cut. So why would it matter? I mean, yeah, there's the idea. It's kind of like we were talking about the idea of ripping off your fans and what Pearl Jam when they went to fight against Ticketmaster in the 90s, you know, and that whole thing that we thought was cool then, you know, stick to the man, all that kind of stuff. But now I'm thinking about it in terms of, well, You know, if they want to do that and then they don't sell it, then it's their loss. And if they do sell it and they make it, okay, well the band and the promoters and everybody still got what they wanted. What difference does it make? And on top of that, I think it says something about the power of the band that there are fans of theirs that are willing to even do that. And then I thought about my own mom, who does that crap with like American Idol tickets and crap like that, you know, and how she'll buy it from those places, pay all this money for a great upfront ticket, and she's all in, man. She'll go in, she'll still buy tons of crap when she gets there. And she doesn't have the money for it. She still does it anyway. She doesn't do this anymore. She's on fixed income now, but she did back when that stuff was happening. And it's like, that's just genuine. That's worth it to some people. And so to me, the band still gets what they're getting. They still get their money. They still get the people that are going to be there are still going to be there. Well, maybe not. You know, it's always possible that someone says, I can't afford it through them, and then you know they might get some unrealistic thought that the band had something to do with it. But that's unrealistic. That's not the band's fault. So I don't know. That's kind of where I kind of come over from that standpoint. Mike comes from your exact standpoint. So
it's funny based on what you just said. Also, if you try and cut out scalpers and cut out bots and make it harder for them, your shows sell slower. You kind of start to realize how many people were actually, you know, how many tickets that when you sell super fast, it's because a lot of these things or make it hard for real people to do it. And we've realized that. I mean, we still see sales, but it's kind of like, oh, look at that. There's the difference. But based on everything you just said, yeah, a lot of people have thrown that argument to us before we even decided to do any of this, or even try to, and then make a bunch of changes, which we've already made of what we're doing in the future. And it really just came down to the fact that, again, we spent so much time planning these things, and Mike especially wanted to do something, anything that he could do. And I rant so much about everything that I was just kind of like, I'm gonna at least put my mouth, or put my effort where my mouth is in this case. And I think the biggest problem in the music industry today is that we don't think about the people who are actually buying tickets enough. And I don't think that there are enough. I mean, agents definitely don't. Managers definitely don't care. They're all going to think the same way that, that argument you gave. Bands are going to be somewhere in the middle of like, oh, is this fair or whatever, and then they're probably told they can't do anything about it. And in our case, what we by doing it, we knew it was this idea, and I mean, I don't think it makes me a jerk to say this out loud, but we also knew that by doing it, our fan base would be like, wait a second, they actually care about us. Like, yeah. It was a conscious thought. And so what happened with MXPX is I didn't make a cent more, and they didn't make a cent more doing the whole resale thing and manually doing it, which was a pain in the ass. And the thing you didn't know was the fact that it's a human variable. People just take forever to come and buy the tickets, really, when you make your own waiting list. Lesson learned. We'll put time limits on it if we ever do it again. But the that all being said, we saw a bunch of things sell in our merch store. We saw people respond differently when the next show went on sale or our international shows went on sale. And so I have like a business model and I guess ideology in the music industry that everything, little things add up to big things. And so in this case, we just wanted to basically say, like, you know what? Like, it's not fair. We're not going to get them all, but we're going to at least try, show people that we're willing to try, correct it, for the future, or at least try to. And that, amongst other little things we're doing, hopefully the fan base would respond positively. And in the case of MXPX, so far, they really have. Now, granted, we also have an extreme no press policy, which I took from Screeching Weasel. And so, like, even though we've had people like Alternative Press or whatever ask us about this stuff, we've just declined all comment. Which the irony of that is our fan base also loved that because it was about them and us, and that simple. Because again, to me, all we wanted was for them to know that we were listening, and so that's why we did it, really. And I think in the long run, I think it will work out. And I'm probably the only weirdo that cares enough about that. Most of the bands that I've worked with over the years don't care. But Mike does. He absolutely does, and he didn't want to sit around and do nothing. Even though once we got in the middle of it, he was like, "Son of a bitch, this is a lot of work," you know. And then he just sucked it up and he kept doing it. But that, you know, it's legitimate work to actually show people you care. And then, of course, you open up Pandora's box because you don't know what else is going to be thrown at you. But Brand New has been doing what we did for years. I mean, Brand New does it every single tour, and they don't get everybody, but they at least try. And that band has only gotten more massive and more cult followers, you know, than ever before. And their fans really do believe that they care in their mysterious way. And so I thought, do I want to be like that, or would I rather just be like everybody else? And it's like, well, we could at least be a little bit different, and so we'll do it our own way. So that was the idea.
I respect that. That's cool.
I have two questions for you real quick.
Okay.
Taking the floor.
No. First one being, and I'm sure you've visited this many already in your mind, if not, you know, brought to the table and everything. Why not take the VIP ticket sales somewhere else? I mean, I know you said what stops the bot from buying that VIP ticket. Why can't you take VIP sales on, put a link on Twitter, you know, come here, do this, do that. And the other thing is
through the fan club only or something.
Yeah, or the other thing is that, you know, I know you said that you know, you use MXP as an example, that they don't care, they don't really want to take the time, or they couldn't be bothered by making that extra money to sit down and have lunch with fans. What they also have to realize, though, is, I don't know.
That's an awkward thing, though. I can see why they wouldn't want to do it, because you would feel awkward, like almost like you're prostituting yourself.
Yeah, but
I can totally see why. I wouldn't want to do that.
If they want the money, though,
free.
if they really care about someone else, I don't know. It's just it's a weird thing.
Well, I mean, they're a band that sits out there. In the case of them, there's a couple reasons about this, though, because MXPX right now is on a very, very limited schedule. You know, and you never really know which shows Tom and Yuri will be at and which ones will be mine.
Which ones will be who? Is there other people playing the other spots?
Well, basically, Tom and Yuri retired from touring years ago, and so Mike has had an entire new band, but Tom and Yuri have refusal, and so they have full-time jobs, and they play probably 80% of all MXPX shows. So it's up to them. So basically, if Yuri or Tom can get off of work or it's not too long, they come in, and if they can't do it, we have a set group of guys that does it with Mike. And it's been that way.
And the crowd likes it either way?
Yeah, we haven't really had a problem. I mean, how many of these bands don't have the same, shit.
But
a million
with
of them. So.
That band, that was those three guys. I mean, other than that first record, you know, it was those three guys the whole life of the band. So having it be somebody else is kind of weird for any kind of long term.
But again,
is it people like that? People the fans know, like Dale Yob and stuff like that? Is it people like that?
No, it's totally. For instance, okay, the timeline goes when they retired back in like 2009 or whatever it was, and got their jobs. Mike. And then he settled on one particular band back in like 2012, and so other guys with Mike, and that was MXPX, that when Tom and Yuri show up, it's almost like an added bonus, because people don't really expect to see Tom and Yuri these days. But the irony is they're more than they're not.
Right, so if they make another record, is it going to be Yuri and Tom?
Yeah, because they all live in Bremerton still,
right.
So it's like, you know,
that would make sense.
Yeah, so it's easy, and they all get along. It's honestly, compared to other bands that are in the situation Mike is, it's actually kind of remarkable, because other bands usually have some giant falling out and they don't talk or whatever.
Right.
In this case, those guys they get it. I mean, you know, we're going all around the world this year, and so basically it's. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, how old is the fan base now? Because I mean, like I love MXPX. I have every album. My first MXPX show was probably like 1995. I've seen them a million times. But like I'm 36. I love MXPX, but I'm not gonna go to an MXPX concert. Like, not because I don't love them. I mean, I just don't do like shows anymore. Like, I'm just old, and I'd rather stay home and like go to sleep. So I'm just
and talk on the internet with people.
Yeah. So I'm wondering. So just to say, like, to say what Cliff is saying, like, the fans, maybe they don't, it's not a huge deal. Like, if me at 36, I've seen MXPX a million times. I was like, my wife even got the Poking at You Punk tattoo on her ankle when she was younger, and like we're huge MXP, but like, so if I went to a show, I'd be bummed if Tom and Yuri weren't there, but like how old, like, what is the fan base now? Is it still people that have been there since like Poking at Ya, or is it more like people who've discovered them in their later albums, and it's more younger, like 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids, or even younger? Like, what's their demographic right now?
I would say we're anywhere from like 18 to about 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, you were in a band. If you're in a band, then you are gonna hate other bands.
Yeah, you're gonna get big and become.
No, I absolutely love MXPX, man. I still listen to them all the time. It's just I hate going to shows.
That's what we're talking about. It's not that you don't listen to the records that you used to listen to. It's just that the idea of going,
I can't do
it's like what I talked about before. The curtain comes down. You know what it's like. You know how to be a professional musician. You learned that. So it's not, the mystery's gone to go see a show. It's not there anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. Yeah. But it's amazing. It's incredible that like, just even still they can, I know they had those Seattle shows recently a couple months ago, and they were sold out, right? Like the two, or Bremerton or something.
We did Bremerton in September, and that was sold out.
Yeah,
Texas in January, they were sold out.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible. What other bands like that had their beginnings at like they did, that have been around for so long? Like, it's a testament to their music and their obvious, like Mike's obvious care for his fans, to be able to have that kind of longevity.
Well, the whole thing that we originally started talking about was mainly because I think, that I brought up, I guess, was because of the LA shows, right? They were LA, right?
Yeah.
I guess I should. Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's LA, and it's
sorry. I was gonna say we LA Hollywood was 3 nights. And they were in June, or going to be in June, and we went on sale in January, and we sold out in 10.5 hours. That's what happened, and that's how we ended up in this StubHub situation to begin with. And then we're on sale right now in Seattle for about a week before those Hollywood shows, and it went on sale last week, and the low ticket alert just went up today. So it'll probably be sold out by the time the morning comes, hopefully, knock on wood. And if not, then by Saturday. And so, they're doing good. But the difference between LA and Seattle, we took all these things that we learned from avoiding the StubHub scenario, and we implemented it. And so far, nothing's on secondary sites. We'll see. But we made it really hard to do it, really, really hard. And we'll see. I mean, you have to show up with your ID. You have to pick up your ticket at the window. You have to go right in. The venue is a patio, so you can't leave the venue, but you can go outside. And you need your ID and the credit card you bought it, or you don't go. Like, you can't really resell. Yeah. Well, what I hope to do, honestly,
Dude, we should use this program for immigration.
No, I heard you say that exact thing on Mike's show when you guys were talking about this, and you were like, what do we do? You guys were trying to figure out what do we do, and well, I guess we could, have them bring their ID to the venue and have to show it when you're inside the venue, and that's a thing I remember doing when I was going to shows, and as soon as you guys said that, I was like, yeah, that's what you should do. And I'm glad that's what you're doing.
So it's funny because it's so simple. However, it's also annoying because technology makes getting tickets a lot easier now than it's ever been, and you're pretty much just saying fuck technology, because technology opens up all those.
I have a question.
Problems. Yes.
So this will answer a question that Mike had earlier. what makes StubHub different? Why is it illegal to go out in front of a Yankees game and sell a ticket for $500, and cops can arrest you for doing that, but you can go on StubHub and sell anything for as much as you want? What is the difference there?
I really wish I had the answer to that question because I still haven't figured it out.
Okay.
And to me, it's just as it should be illegal, you know. And even the venue, even like the Troubadour, at first didn't really want to go back and help me, you know, do what I was doing. Luckily, I have a lot of control in my deals, and they just started. And then all of a sudden, like once we got going, the venue was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Bands don't do this. Like, what else could we do? And so they actually kind of started to help me go through and pick things out and cancel orders, refund orders, and all this kind of stuff. But they were saying the same thing. They're like, this should be illegal. And I'm like, I think it is. Like, I actually think it's legal, except that the company in StubHub I'm guessing in the internet verse is based somewhere where it's legal, and that's how they're able to do it. And StubHub covers its ass by having like these rules where it says like, in these states you have to follow these rules, which no one follows.
Right.
You know, and no one ever reads that part of the website. But you know, and it's weird because StubHub also has. I'm in a little bit of me and StubHub are in the middle of something right now. Who knows really what's going to happen? But they know exactly what I'm doing, which is I found the loophole in their system, which if you tell your fan base that you're doing something like this, your fan base knows where to reach you. And so what ends up happening is people bought tickets on StubHub. They come to me with their StubHub receipts. They send me the tickets. I take the ticket numbers, and I go back to the venue, and I can cancel the orders, literally cancel the tickets. I can track exactly who bought them, who sold them. I can flag the buyer. I can take all their information, name, address, even their credit card number, and send it wherever I want to send it, which I don't really fuck with their credit card stuff. But the irony is then they get an email. The buyer, the original buyer, gets an email saying that their tickets are canceled. And so then these people, you know, they're holding tickets that are no longer good. But I get the tickets back in our ticketing account, and I can resell the tickets to the person who bought the StubHub ones. And then they have to go back to StubHub, who has a buyer back guarantee, and get a refund. StubHub at first was doing it really quickly. Now they're trying to be more pains in the ass. So like to the point where they had actually said maybe we should cancel this event. And my response to them was, yeah, I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, I mean, I can just pull up my credit card and start doing it if I want to. It's not really that hard. And then you can just, like I said, you have the exact buyer person, and you can just blacklist them from buying on your shows in the future. But it's like, and my point with all this is, if you really want to like get into it, in venues that are a couple hundred people to a couple thousand people, if you have one person who can manage it, it's actually really easy. The problem is if you're doing like 100 dates a year, which MXPX aren't, then it would be incredibly hard to manage. But in this case, like my ultimate goal hopefully will be to do more of the will call stuff, but then to have some sort of resale site through MXPX that is a face value site. Where they could transfer the will call tickets is what I'm hoping. But I don't know. I don't know if it's possible yet. I've just kind of learned the more effort
That also
I put
might be
into
super confusing to fans who bought it.
It could be. It could be. That's the problem. The problem is where do we by complicating it, where do we start to lose people? And that's what we're slowly going to figure out, Like I said before, like we noticed that our ticket sales have slowed down a little bit. But that's also because we actually have real people buying our tickets.
Right.
Well, just shifting gears a bit real quick, did you book the current Queers tour?
No, I did not.
Okay.
The last Queers thing I booked was
stuff in California.
The shows with bigwigs. So I did no. I did it was Hometown Throwdown in Boston. Philadelphia right afterwards, Washington, D.C., and then they ended with the sold-out Brooklyn show. And those were my last ones. But Joe had booked a tour between that one and the one that I did before that. So, like, it's been a while. I mean, I amicably, like, me and Joe talked in, like, September September is when I wanted to leave. I mean, like, I don't mind talking about the Queers at all because, I mean, Joe gave me I got the Queers job because Ben Weasel had the Screeching Weasel incident, and then Dave, who used to be the bass player in the Queers, called Deborah, their old agent, a cunt, and she flipped the fuck out. And Joe and her already didn't really get along, and so she fired Joe when Joe was defending Ben Weasel. And so Joe didn't have an agent. Ben thought it was, for a little bit, thought he was never going to play music again, and Joe just happened to be at home in Atlanta with a band that I knew, the Atom Age, and I had booked some of their shows. And Joe just asked Ryan, who played drums in the Queers many times, like, hey, do you have anybody who booked your tour? And he was like, oh yeah, Tom did. And Ryan just lied through his teeth and was like, you should call him, Joe. And you guys know Joe Queer well enough to know that, like, that is Joe Queer. So back then I didn't really know him. I just knew, I knew the Queers. But getting to know him over the last 5 years, I realized, like, that is, one of the best character traits Joe has is just giving random people chances. It's also his biggest flaw at the same time, but it's awesome. And but that part of Joe Queer connected us together. I never thought that I would be booking the Queers longer than one tour. I thought he would go get somebody who actually knew what they were doing. And instead, I stayed with him for 5 years. And by the time, I would say early September, there's a bunch of changes I made in the company. Like I was saying earlier, I have less artists now than before, and now I wasn't this way with the Queers. Now I run the entire teams, and so I started making moves I enjoy my day-to-day a lot more this way, and there's a lot more to do. I could focus on quality over quantity, and so it came down to, like, who is going to let me do this new way, and so Joe is so old school that I knew it would never click, and a lot of changes in marketing and promotions with the music industry were happening, and Joe at first was like, yeah, let's do it, but then I realized that he was one of my only clients that didn't know what I was actually doing. It didn't, and by not know, I mean didn't understand it. And so even when I tried to explain it, and I'm smart enough to realize that that was going to walk us down a path I didn't want to go down with Joe, because he trusted me, but to blindly trust somebody with all your money is a terrible, terrible idea. And so we had a talk, we had a couple talks in September, and he wanted to try some things that I didn't want to try, and at the same time, I wanted to make the company changes, and it was just the perfect time. And rather than making a big thing out of it, we kept it really, really, really quiet. And then I think I first announced it probably at the end of November after he had found his new agent. And so people assumed that I booked, like, his entire fall when I didn't. I was already gone. I just pretended like I was Joe Queer's agent for another couple of months. And we still talk. Like, I mean, he still sends me things from the road and whatever else. Like, it's not ugly by any means. And I think, like, I'm really, really, really proud of the things, like, we did together. Like, we're both weird creative types. So, like, sure, like, there's things that, when you work that closely with somebody that, you get sick of. But at the same time, by now, I mean, it's been 6 months. Like, I think fondly of Joe. I felt bad when all that Canada stuff went down.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. That's, like, just so ridiculous. So stupid.
Oh. Dude, we had,
PC police, man, you gotta toe the line, or else you're out of there. And on ever-changing rules, it's like, it's exhausting. How do you even keep up? It's crazy.
It is. Let's put it this way, like, where Joe. The interesting thing about my time with the Queers is, like, Joe, when he was talking about the Ottawa thing, and he was out there doing interviews, he was like, we've never had a show canceled for this before. But what Joe doesn't even realize is that there are multiple shows over the course of the last couple of years when he made all his comments and stuff like that we almost lost, except I was, like, right in the middle of it between, like, me and Mike Park, and so nobody really canceled the show on us. And so it was just the way that it was handled, and, like, I mean, the promoter should never have been able to bail. It should never have been able to make the statement he made. He basically told everybody that they got some, like, negative feedback and that ticket sales suck, so they canceled the show. Like, that's what he said publicly, the promoter, and nobody blasted him for it. And I was like, that never would have happened if we were still on our old system, because we never would have worked with the promoter who would have done something that scummy anyway and tried to change it around. And the only reason I think like that is because I've worked with Ben Weasel. I've never, ever since South by Southwest, Screeching Weasel, which has been, it's 5 years now since that happened, we have never lost a show in Screeching Weasel world, and I've worked with Ben now for 4 years, like 4.5. And Ben has been just as controversial as ever, if not more. You know, ticket sales are up for them, but we've never lost a show. And the reason you don't lose shows is because you have approach to the queers, you know. So
Hey, we lost you there for a second. The reason you don't lose shows is because you have what? We lost you again.
oh no, what about now?
No, we can hear you now. Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I say it's because we're picky. Like we're absolutely picky, and if you got to work with promoters who can take the heat. You know, you got to look at who else they book and what other controversial things they have, and if there's any history of them bailing because things get weird, you just don't work with them because you're asking for trouble when you go in. You know, I'm not looking to spend my Tuesday afternoons being like, no, you booked my show, you owe us money. Like, I don't, it's not worth it. You know, you correct the problem before you get there. And so, you know, by what happened with the queers, I'm sure they just worked with some people who would, you know, bail on shows because it's gonna happen, and it happens to many, many bands. It just doesn't, luckily, knock on wood, hasn't happened a lot to my stuff, and I think it's because we're careful. I mean, it's not even ego. It's just like Ben, in the case of Weasel, Ben is very involved in that, and he asks a lot of questions about promoters before we book shows. And I just, like I said, I took the same logic and applied it to the queers and asked the right questions, and we just never really lost shows. It got hairy. People would give me phone calls, and, you know, while I had people like Ron Martinez, when he booked the Casualties and that whole thing happened, like, those people call me for advice all the time, and what I always tell them is just don't book with people who are going to bail on you. It's pretty simple, you know, like, your life will be really simple. There's a lot of promoters out there that can take some negative energy and understand that it's only going to result in more ticket sales, not just for that show, but for probably other shows too. Because what people seem to miss is a lot of negative attention on one issue creates a lot of public perception, and that there are people who actually think that's all bullshit. They just don't sit there and yell at the top of their lungs. And so you're not instantly losing all these people. And in fact, most of the people that complain aren't even buying tickets to your event anyway.
Correct.
You know? And the people in Ottawa, I mean, those people never would have gone to a queer show. Like, never would have gone to a queer show. And so it's just kind of like, what's the point? Why are you ruining this for these other people who want to go, and just to further your cause, which apparently is more important than Joe's cause? Like, that's the way that they make it seem. And I mean, if you know, well, Joe's cause changes every month, but that's what we love about Joe. So it just it depends, but I just don't think I have a weird. I care about people, and I think that art, if we make it too safe, art will be less interesting. We won't want to go and do things. And I got into punk rock a little bit because it was unpredictable, and I like to work with some people who leave it, you know, still unpredictable in their own way. And that's about, maybe when I say people, it's really Ben now who's the one that's the craziest, because everyone is also a little tamer, but in certain aspects. But yeah, then I don't work with the queers anymore. I don't work with the dwarves anymore. And it's just like, you know, I just never, even when I booked the dwarves, man, with Blag, it's like, you know, we never lost a show either. Just, and that's the irony. It's like, if you want to attack somebody out of all these people, go attack Blag. You know, he's the easiest target, and he gets the pass all the time. And so those are probably the people you really could, you know, if those groups really want to make a stand. There are certain musicians, they go after the easy targets. Like, why did those people in Ottawa go after Joe? Because Joe honestly is an easy target. You know, you go after someone like Blag, he's actually pretty savvy with the internet in certain ways for an old guy, and very savvy with his writing. Like, they know how to go back there and make trouble, you know. And Joe's more of like a reserved kind of guy and just likes to play music, and so easy target, I guess. I don't know, but I felt bad watching it. There was nothing I could do. I was just kind of like, oh, wow.
But you see all the you just see all the people over on the pop-up music board, you know, and you just see them, all these people that. It's why I say they eat their own. You know what I mean? It's like these are all the same people that were the queers rah 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 through the 90s and 2000s, and now here they are joining that bandwagon, and it's like the same thing's gonna happen to you. You keep down this road, you're gonna say something that everybody else doesn't want to hear, and then you're gonna get blacklisted or whatever. It's like, why would you even want to be a part of something like that? There's a reason that. Oh, it's just crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. I can't wait till political correctness is just gone from the face of the earth.
I don't know if it will ever be gone at this point. I don't know.
Shoot.
You know, I wish too. I mean, I don't. It's funny because
punk used to be about think for yourself, and it's not at all anymore. It's only herd mentality, and you have to toe the line, and you have to hit all the right talking points, and you have to know the rules, and if you don't abide by every one of those, you're gone overnight.
Well,
and it's insane.
irony of what you just said. The irony of what you just said is most of the old punk guys, I won't say all, think the way you just said. You know, and they just keep their mouths shut. Where they used to be vocal, they just keep their mouths shut in today's world, like almost like living in fear, because the new punk bands that are out there that we don't even really consider punk rock, but they technically are, I guess, are more about that herd mentality and about being present in that herd mentality. So there's an interesting divide there, where like the whole generation is becoming the old men, you know, and then the people who still have careers are just keeping their mouths shut so that they can keep getting money. You know, and then you have Joe, who just doesn't play by anybody's rules but his own.
Right.
No, we had him on our show 2 episodes ago, and he.
That was before this happened.
Oh,
yeah. It happened like the next week.
2 episodes ago, right? Yeah, but he he walked around for like the first 45 minutes or so. He was walking around with like his cell phone and the fan above his head, and basically it was. We're like, Joe, why don't you like? Well, I don't know. It was technical difficulties. We'll just say that.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's so Joe.
Things going away, you know.
He makes me laugh. Like he makes me laugh. Like I sincerely hope that their whole tour goes well, and like I really.
Deep thought.
He is not a guy. No. He's not a guy that plans. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so for years, like I did the planning with the queers, and so I only hope that where we left on a good note, that he can continue it with whatever idea pops into his head and whoever's working with them. And I hope that like Mike Park can make that happen too, because Mike is still involved and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm rooting for him on the sidelines, because I always say this to everybody. When bands do well, we all do well. Like that's the weird part. It's like we're in some weird competition world because, you know, bands make money. But in reality, if everybody has better shows, then everybody will make more money. It's kind of a weird way to look at it, but that's how I look at it. And so I hope so. I mean, the only band that I really, you know, there's only 2 bands I ever left that I don't want to talk to ever again, you know, and Joe's definitely not one of them. The Dwarves, I fucking hate Blag, hate them. You guys can get whatever you want out of me on air, on the record, and I'll tell you anything.
Why do you hate them?
We have no control over it.
Did he punch you in the face once?
No. Well, he would if we got in the same room, but I would punch him too. He's way bigger than me. He would destroy me. And the other person, the other band was I used to work for the Sonics. So the legendary.
Really? 60s bands with B-Face was playing with him, right?
Yes.
And that was difficult. Why was that? Or they just didn't understand stuff?
No. Well, okay. What happened was I got hired. I only was there for like 4 months before I quit. And I got hired by a manager who got fired 6 weeks into me joining the team, and they hired a new guy, and we just didn't get along, like me and that manager. And so it was just constant, like the band wanting me as their agent, the band hiring this guy, wanting us to get along, and then like, it just didn't.
So it
just
wasn't even in
didn't
the
click.
band. It was this one prick.
Nope. It wasn't. But the band kind of like let it happen, and I understand looking back like that probably they had no control and they just wanted to see like where the fireworks would come, and I just left before we really. It got ugly a couple times, but I left before it went way too far.
Yeah.
And so, but then the irony of that is that guy got completely fired, and they have a new guy now, and they're doing way better. So it's like karma's a bitch. But on that note, like back to the Dwarves, like I can't stand that band. Like Blag's ego, and everyone always talks about it, is like through the roof. But he can't. Where you got to give someone like Ben Weasel credit, like Ben, and I think he's been humbled in his life a little bit. I don't think he'd be mad at hearing me say that. But like Ben has learned to let me do things, and we work together, and we come up with a plan, and we do it. With Blag, there would be a lot of repeating myself, and I'm really bad at repeating myself. Like I can talk, through something if someone has concerns, but if I have the same conversation with you on like the 4th or 5th time, eventually I'm going to lose my patience. And so leaving the Dwarves was
talked about this.
a pleasant experience. yeah. That's pretty much what I said many times. And so it's
Is it because he was only half listening?
I just think he's not. I think maybe it's the drug use in his past or something else, man. But
damage.
I
Well, he's like in his 50s now, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I wanna say-
hey, man,
I wanna say-
maybe early onset dementia. You never know, dude. I'm almost there. I'm 46. So, hey.
It could be, and I just. I mean, Chris Fields left. You guys probably know Chris Fields, right?
Yeah.
Chris, he quit. He was in the Dwarves for years, and he quit 2 months after I did. So he told me that when he saw what I had said to Blag when I left, that I had said everything he ever wanted to say to Blag. So yeah.
Well, we've never actually met. Well, as far as I know, I don't know the Dwarves guys. I've never seen them. Well, I saw them at Riot Fest. That counts. It doesn't really count, but.
Let's put it this way: in person, I think like in passing, he'd be fun. He'd be fun if you met him as the singer of a band and whatever else. But never would I recommend anybody do business with him. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
That's what people say about Ben Weasel. But I've found, because I've known Ben Weasel for a while now, you got to understand I've learned that if his buttons get pushed, he has no control to stop himself, and he'll just go crazy. But you have to kind of look at it like when your mom's mad at you or something. You have to just understand they don't really mean it, and you have to just let it simmer down, and eventually it comes back down, and he's himself again. And if you can understand that about him, but a lot of people can't understand that about him. And so I've always gotten along with him really, really well since I started hanging out and talking to him and stuff. It's just been very cordial, and so I like him a lot.
He's the smartest guy in punk rock. Like, not only is he a talented songwriter, but like there's something about his brain which I can't say enough positive things about. Like his ideas and the execution of them, his management of our team, if that makes sense, because it's grown. He has a way of like commanding respect but letting us do our jobs. Like, I don't know, and everything you said is absolutely true about his.
Froze up again.
At that point, Oh, okay. What about now? Can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So I was gonna say, like, what happened?
You froze right in the middle of everything you said was absolutely true. I mean, we could figure out what you were going to say.
Oh, okay. I was saying everything about Ben that you were saying is totally true, and you just have to understand that that's how he expresses himself in a weird way, and he's just getting it out is a good way, I think, to phrase it. And so you can pinpoint in the middle of one of his very usually over the top rants what he's actually trying to say, or at least that's the kind of person I am. And he's never really yelled at me, you know. I mean, we've gotten into it before, but we've never really like, you know, I don't know. It's just we have very similar brains, but at the same time we're very different people, and he's just never, you know, never. We somehow, I mean, like I said, I trust him, and I don't look. Let me put it this way: when I work with Ben and I work with like Mike Herrera, I don't look over my shoulder like, you know, like who's trying to stab me in the back on this team. If that makes any sense?
Yeah, that's good.
Like Ben is so loyal, and so like I never think twice. It's like I'm gonna go do what I think is best for us, and I don't have to worry about people second guessing me. They're gonna have my back, and then behind the scenes, then they're gonna ask me questions. You know?
Right, and that's why he was so. I mean, he felt literally betrayed by the other guys in the band back then because they were being suckered by the stupid pop punk scene that wasn't interested anyway, and they fell for it. And he was just like, how dare you not understand what's actually going on? And he just felt like you're not being loyal, all that stuff. Exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, like I remember it was like not necessarily that thing, but I remember that time frame because we had I think it was like December, so South by Southwest was in March, and I want to say like I talked to Ben in June that year, and then I talked to Ben again in October, and then in December I interviewed for the job. They asked a couple people, and I remember telling Ben specifically, I just still think Weasel fans would support him, and he just has to get back out there. And the right number of people said it to him, and I told him, I go, I just think that you've always done this. Your real fans are going to understand, and everyone else are people that wouldn't go anyway. Kind of like my argument before about trying to sabotage shows, if you will, for the queers. There's people who wouldn't go. Then we just started going, and then I think by like a year in, our whole relationship changed because he gave me more responsibility and just let me kind of run with it. But he told me one time, I remember like they sold out a show in Philly. This might have been like a year ago or 2 years ago, and he sent me this text, and he was like, we sold out another show. And he goes, you know, you did tell me when you took this job that, you know, people would still come out to my shows. He's like, you were either really fucking lucky or you're really good at your job. That's Ben, and that is Ben. You know what I mean? It's just like, I love it. He gives the best kind of encouragement and motivation in, I don't know. I think people in punk rock can take a lesson from him because that loyalty part of punk rock is, I think, very, very important, and that loyalty part of business. Like, don't get me wrong, if I screwed Ben Weasel, he'd be the first one to come back at me, you know, but at the same time, like, you have to, those people you put around you, you have to know their limits and, you know, and if you could trust them. And I feel like when people go and talk about the punk rock community and stuff, I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about because most of the people I meet in punk rock I actually can't trust at all. You know, like I wouldn't trust anything. So it's strange. So, but him at the same time, like for whatever, you know, wherever he came from and his stance on all of it, like we just get along, and it's been over 4 years, like I said, about 4.5 years now, and which is remarkable. But yeah, it's still interesting, and we're still trying crazy shit, and so, and they're still selling tickets. So, yeah.
Like, is he gonna do a? He's gonna do a part 2, right?
You know what? I don't know. You know, he's the one that really would be able to.
I heard he was. I thought he was working on that.
He is writing it. Let me be very clear. There will be a part 2. I don't know if it's gonna come out on like CD and like vinyl the way that part 1 came out. It might only be it's going to be written, but it might only be in our live show that's done. And I don't mean like the Weasel concerts. I mean the actual Baby Fat production that's being built.
Wow.
And it's only because Ben, he might do it. I feel like, you know, back to what Cliff was saying about Rant and Ben, I think he is very disheartened in the idea that like records don't sell anymore, and so he's like, what's the point? What's the point of me, crowdfunding this thing, another one, to do a really good record the way I want to do it with the musician? It just, I don't know. That last one was such a big undertaking, and it wasn't that. I mean, it sold pretty well in comparison to other punk records, but for us, it's kind of like, do we really want to do that again, or do we just want to go into the production side of it?
You have to make records nowadays not for your legacy, to make people happy, not to get rich off of it because you're not gonna, or to even have an excuse to go on tour, where their actual money's made. I mean, you can't do it. It just the model for making a record, unless you're Adele or somebody like that, is just not there.
That was it's funny that you bring her up, because to me, I thought it was absolutely mind-blowing that an artist in 2015, a couple months ago, broke all those records, in first week records, and not only broke them, but shattered them. And, in a place when the music industry has, in theory, collapsed on record sales.
Well,
it was...
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No. I thought it was. I'm not trying to cut you off at all. Two things. Number one, I don't think he actually has any connection issues. Ben Weasel is filtering everything he says. So anytime he says something that is not right, he just makes him look like he's frozen. But to get back at something that I was touching on long before you joined, and not to count you out on anything, I was talking about the Grammys, and most of the people here, actually everybody except for myself, admitted that they didn't watch the Grammys.
Nobody watched it, yeah.
But what I thought was hilarious was that they actually took about 3 to 4 minutes out of the Grammys to say how much they were against streaming, and they put a penny on the screen and cut it down so it was like the smallest slice of the pizza that no one would want, but that's how much the artists are actually getting when you stream their songs. But what they failed to mention was how many more millions and millions and millions of people are actually listening to their music, being exposed to it, because now they're paying for this, service, that the artists are actually getting that small percentage that they wouldn't have gotten any of that. So, that's what's kind of freaking messed up. I don't know.
Interesting. It's an interesting way to look at it. I feel I can go either way on the streaming argument. I really can see both sides of it, and to be quite frank, I haven't even...
There's Ben Weasel again.
Yep.
Damn it! I wonder why. It's funny. My internet seems fine. It's so weird.
Well, Ben Weasel owns the internet.
It's a very good topic, perhaps for another show.
Well, it comes down to
this one, just for the live feed, we're gonna close it down. And
Tom,
say,
thank you so much for joining us. You were unbelievably interesting.
You don't have to go anywhere.
Just at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
very, very awesome. Very enjoyable conversation.
Yes, this was fantastic. And please don't think that you have to disconnect or anything. We're just gonna chop the live feed off. People can continue to join in the they can come in the room and they can continue to join the conversation. But as far as the live stream to YouTube, we're gonna just chop that here. Good ending point. So that people don't have to watch 7 hours worth of us chattering about it. But we can bring you back in another time and talk about streaming and all this good stuff. It was a great conversation.
Should bring him back.
You provided an immense amount of information about the whole ticketing thing and just the whole behind the scenes thing about booking in general. Very, very informative. Very, very cool. So thank you for coming on. Thanks for everybody watching. Thanks for everyone that joined. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have Mass Giorgini as our guest. So please come back, watch.
Mass Giorgini.
Yeah, we'll get more dirt on Ben Weasel. It'll be awesome.
And mysteriously, Mass will freeze up at crazy little instances of his speech, and then we will know that the conspiracy is in. It'll be a legitimate thing. Again, thanks to everyone that watched. Thanks for Tom for joining and everyone else that joined the conversation. and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take it easy.